Okay,
Hey,
perfect.
how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you good. How about me? I just have my AirPods in.
You're good.
Okay,
You're good.
perfect. I apologize. I'm in Eastern time right now, but I'm from California, so I'm used to Pacific time. So when I figured out what SK time was, I must have messed it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm sorry about the time mishap as well. Yeah, Saskatchewan has like its own time zone. We don't do daylight savings time. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. But yeah,
I think that's what got me with the daylight savings.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. No,
okay.
I'm happy to see that you've got your framing all good and everything. Most guests that you must be doing this on a computer, not a phone, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, my last few guests have been doing it on their phone and just completely screwing it up. It is so annoying.
Oh, and I apologize. Usually I have like a little mic and everything,
Yeah.
but I'm
No,
glad to see that at least one of us is looking professional.
I've got a mess going on back here. No, no
It's part
worries.
of the ambiance.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have any questions before we start?
I think I read you said it's just a conversational thing, so we're just
Yeah,
learning about each other.
yeah,
I don't think so. I mean, I'm excited.
for sure. Sounds good. Are you in like a dorm room right now? That room looks like a dorm room or
Oh,
something.
I know, isn't it so ugly? And this is the best angle I could find for you. Yes, so I'm in my senior year of college, and I'm doing a study abroad program in Washington D.C. Gosh,
Wow.
yeah, I really hate it. Um, and so I'm living here and I'm working for the Heritage Foundation. I don't know if you're familiar
Okay.
with them, but they're
Yeah,
like a conservative think tank in DC. And so this is what I'm working with right now.
very cool. Wow. That's yeah. It reminds me of when I played like junior hockey. I had to stay in this place called Notre Dame, and it's not the Notre Dame in the U.S. It's Notre Dame in Canada. And for like months, I had to shower with cold water. It was nasty.
Oh,
But they have like the best hockey program in Western Canada, so I was like, okay, I got to go here, even though they don't have hot water. But
yeah, it makes you tougher.
yeah, yeah. So how's your day going?
Good, good. Not much happening so far. I mean, I work all week, so Saturdays are really just my wind down, relax, do whatever I want. What about you?
Nice, nice. Oh, my day's going great. Um, yeah. So anyway, I guess I might as well do a little intro for the podcast here, real quick,
Okay.
so we can kind of get
Okay.
going. Um, all right. Yeah, this is Canadian Talk. We're here for another episode. We've got a guest today. It's honestly for me, this is a huge day to have you on the show. I know you're way younger than me. You know, you might have even less followers right now than me online. None of it matters. From what I'm seeing of you online, honestly, I think it's going to be like 10 minutes and you're going to be famous. So I feel amazed to have you on the show today. So yeah, today we have Angelina on the podcast. From what I know about her, and you can fill in any of the blanks here if I get some of this wrong. I apologize. I'm not really into the whole political sphere or any of that kind of stuff, but I see lots of fancy things you're involved in, like the Lincoln Institute. You've done a few podcasts for them. I see. You have an Instagram called Angelina Talks, where you make videos and clips that I guess could be considered right leaning, but they're really just to protect your country. You seem like a patriot, so that's awesome. Because so am I. Even though my country's a little more gone than yours, like I wish that my country had more people like you, and we might not be where we are right now. But and then also Project 307.ca. That's something that you do, or what's that?
Yes, so that is a branch of the Lincoln Institute dedicated solely to conservative activism on college campuses. So I'm really involved with them out in California, and they do a lot of on-campus things, mostly with student organizations, whether they're conservative or faith-based. They help them get the funding they need, and they help them uh, grow their programs so that conservative students can feel supported in a very liberal state.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I see that there's people that are like in those groups and I don't really understand it much. In Canada, we don't really have that because I'm not sure if we have the population to support it. Like we don't even have like you guys have like fraternities and sororities and stuff at your universities. We don't even have that. It's funny enough, I actually kind of like run what would be considered an unofficial fraternity in my city. If the university had it, I wouldn't need to. Well, then I'd be out of the job because I make lots of money from it. So it's like great. but it should probably be associated more with the university, ideally, to be more official or whatever. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I love your content. I think it's all so great. And but yeah, so I've seen you say you do a few things. Like I saw, but I have a few questions. Like I
Yeah.
see you do some podcasts for the Lincoln Institute. How many have you done?
I think I've done two or three for them officially because they don't have like a set official podcast. I joined with them just this past year, and in any way I could try to help out with their digital media. And so I help with their social media a little bit. And a big part of me coming in was just I really wanted to make students the face of the organization. And so a lot of college students I've interviewed, different backgrounds too, different beliefs. But one of them was this great young man who's from Iran, and he
Yeah,
has these crazy, not crazy, but he has these really interesting views on the
yeah, yeah.
conflict between Israel and Palestine. And then we have another girl, Sarah Stock, who's incredible too, and she's a little bit different. She's actually from Canada, and so we
Yeah,
talked a
no, I'm
lot
a
about
huge fan of her.
um,
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of her. Yeah, I saw your Mateen interview with the guy with the crazy
yes,
mustache and like kind of a
yes.
cool hat. That one was good. Yeah, he was on Surrounded. Hey, Surrounded is such an interesting show. I love that show. You
Oh
were
my
on a
gosh,
show that
yeah.
looked kind of similar to it. What is it called? The DAF show? Or I was going to ask you about that.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Daff. I actually was on an episode of Surrounded.
No
It was the
way.
one where it was, yeah. So it was, I believe, 20 or 25 conservatives versus one LGBT activist.
Oh, you were on
So I
that
was on
one.
that
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, and Sarah was on that one with me. So we
No
were really
way.
surprised and excited to be on it together.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Holy crap. I'm gonna have to go rewatch that one. I didn't watch it because like I think I saw the title and I was like I didn't like that they called them far right conservatives. I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't really exist. There's Groypers or whatever. There's like those crazy like Nick Fuentes type guys. But like other than that, not that Nick Fuentes is crazy, by the way, like he's kind of like he's making a comeback. I don't know. But
For sure.
yeah, so like that's why I didn't watch it because I thought potentially that they were just going to get people on there because a lot of Surrounded is usually they bring in kind of more medium skill level people and then one super skilled person. And I didn't really want to see the
Yeah.
conservatives get dismantled. But how did it go? Did you guys end up like who was the one lefty and how did it go?
His name, the person on the left who was the LGBT activist, his name is Xander Moritz. I think I'm saying his last name right. He owns a nonprofit dedicated to LGBTQ people. He's really big on like local school board meetings in
Of course he
Florida,
does.
trying to advocate for the LGBT. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what I talked to him about, what I debated him on was that I think it's extremely unethical to gender transition children. I think it's something that's abhorrent and we should totally turn away from that. So we had a little back and forth there, but we actually had some really, really great conservatives. I do not think he won that debate by any means. We had
Yeah.
Christian apologists there. We had Sarah who talks to him about just the health implications of living a gay lifestyle,
Yeah.
and those facts are hard to hear, but it's important that people hear them because from a young age, in California at least, we are fed a certain agenda saying this lifestyle is completely normal, it's healthy, it's natural. And then when you dig a little bit deeper, you realize a lot of things have been hidden from you
Hmm.
to make it seem that way. So,
Totally. Well, I've got so much to say about that, but we can just like start from like I don't even know how there could be a back and forth to do with the child transitioning thing. Like I'm not let's to avoid us just kind of massaging each other here back and forth because like
yeah.
I won't I agree with a lot of what you say, but we'll try to avoid that too much just kind of patting each other on the back. But I really don't know how
Okay.
there can be a back and forth with the trans issue. Like I recently did an interview with a lady that like I don't I, I was honestly I got her on and I had so much animosity towards her because she's a comedian and she made like a video mocking Charlie Kirk's wife like days
Mm,
after the thing happened. And I was so mad about it and I got her on the show and basically just shamed her. But at the beginning, kind of we started by talking about a little bit of trans stuff and it just got out of hand so fast. Like I hate that with
mm,
left-wing people, it seems you can't even have a discourse. Like immediately if you say one thing they don't like, it's like I'm going to call you out on your rhetoric and this is hateful and hurtful and violent. And it's like what are you talking about? I'm first off in
Yeah.
the podcast. I wasn't even saying it. I was like, okay, this is what somebody on the right might say. I was like playing devil's advocate, and it wasn't even. And
Right.
I was parroting ideas, and she still just throws me under the bus, and man, it went off the rails. But to jump back to what you said about the gay thing, and yeah, Sarah Stock, I'm a huge fan of her, and I did see the clip of her of that part of uh, Surrounded that she was on. Sorry if I'm talking too much here. Um,
No, no, you're good.
okay, and so like because I actually grew up, my parents, I was raised by two lesbian women in Canada, so I feel, and I even wrote a book on this. I never put it out because like I feel like books are pretentious a little bit, but um, there are a lot of, I had a great upbringing. I think my parents did a good job, but there is tons of insights that can be made into, you know, the gay lifestyle, what it's like for a family unit, and what it's like for a child, and then the two gay or lesbian people as well. Like, how does it hurt or benefit them? Because I can tell you from
Mhm.
myself personally, um, I had a good upbringing because I feel they may have been overcompensating quite a bit. But I tried really hard in school, probably to overcompensate for feeling like weird. A lot of what I felt growing up
Yeah.
was I grappled with a lot of embarrassment growing up, like feeling embarrassed about my parents. And when I was younger, I didn't realize, hey, that they're different. They're them, and you're you. You don't have to feel embarrassed just because your parents are gay. It doesn't mean you're gay. And even if you were gay, you don't have to feel bad about it. But as a kid, I didn't understand that. So like, I totally get a lot of the right wing motivation to preach it, whether it be preaching against the trans thing or preaching against a gay lifestyle. I totally get it because there are ups and downs. I think that the ideal scenario, with a, what do they call it when you have like a normal family? Like
A nuclear family.
nuclear family. Like there is a reason that that's what, the Bible has in it, and that's what it promotes and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. I thought you might be interested to hear that that was my upbringing, and it goes along with that because a lot of people who are, pro gay rights or whatever, they will just rainbow coat the whole thing, and but really I have a lot of
Yeah.
insights on a lot of the negatives of it. So
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah,
That's
just a question.
incredible.
Thank you.
Oh no,
So
no, thank you for sharing.
yeah,
Because I totally understand. I did not grow up with this same viewpoint. I grew up in a family that was very pro LGBT. I have my mother had 8 siblings and a couple of them are gay. I grew up with that normalized around me. And so saying the things I say now, it is not coming from a place of judgment or shame. It is truly just coming from realizing both what God has laid out for us, but also just through like hearing these statistics and
yeah,
learning and seeing what it looks like. So
yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
You bet. Yeah, at the very least, we should try. Like, if the left is going to promote what they promote, there needs to be another side promoting what they believe to be, helping people. So, and that's the goal at
Yeah.
the end of the day, is helping people. So that's the
Yeah.
point of politics. Too many people think that the point of politics is just like, hey, let's argue. Really, at the end of the day, politics
Right.
is a good thing. It's meant to stop us from wars, ideally.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Totally. And I say this all the time when I'm on these debates or when I'm talking one on one with people who are asking me really hard questions is I don't want my politics to ever get in the way of the love I have for other people because at the end of the day my politics are just my morals and my values that if they are who I am as a person. It, did I vote for Trump? Yes. But if Trump goes and does something I don't like, I'll call him out on it. And so it's not like I have um, this blind support for somebody or something. It really is just stemming from who I am as a person. So I totally agree that the end goal of politics is really to get to a place of peace, to make our families, our countries, our world better. And that's what I want to do. I
for
don't
sure.
care about the labels, although I would say I'm conservative. I don't care about the labels as much as I care about making a real impact on our
Yeah.
society.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, yeah, you definitely are knee deep in it. I mean, you have an internship in DC, which is pretty impressive. Couple more questions I had for you was like, and I want to get into what inspired you to get into politics and get into,
Yeah.
whatever it is you do with your internet presence. But first, I wanted to just like, because you were going through it back way back when I interrupted you. I saw that you did an interview with not just Sarah Stock, but I think her name is Yeonmi Park. I saw her on Rogan,
Yes.
and
Yes.
And you interviewed her. What was that like? Because she is like pretty world famous for being like a hero.
Oh, that was surreal because same as you, I saw her on Joe Rogan and hearing her story was just insane. The
Yeah.
details and just the horrors she went through. And so, with my organization in California, what's so awesome, one thing that's so awesome about them is they have the opportunity to bring in people like this um, pretty often, and they speak to our organization and they share about what brought them to the conservative movement. And so I was very honored to have an opportunity to sit down with her for about 20 minutes and just ask her these questions in front of an audience of students from different universities. So it was a small room, and it was just me and my coworker on the other side, and we're asking her, and it was incredible. I don't think I pinch myself sometimes, and I'm nobody, but for some reason I've gotten these awesome opportunities, and I have to pinch myself and be like, oh my gosh, this is Yeonmi Park. Or when I got to go on that episode of Surrounded, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in the room where I've watched all these things happen. It never is like not so cool to me. I'm really, really grateful for her. She is a sweet, sweet human. And what I think is so incredible about her is despite everything she's been through, she brings all the hardship she's been through back to Christ. Like she talks about these horrible, horrible atrocities that me and you will probably never be able to comprehend, and she just brings it back to Christ, how he's working things out for the good in her life. And for her son, she has a son and she's just raising him to know God. And so it's just so beautiful because it reminds me like, gosh, what am I complaining about? When I in my life, Christians in America, we say we face persecution just because we get our Instagrams banned or somebody calls us a Nazi. But it's like
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
talk about these people who are actually persecuted,
yeah.
it brings you back down to earth. And I was an awesome experience.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the big differences between the left and the right too. Like it's like, well, I guess it's a difference right down to the actual philosophy of it. But like I really hate complaining, and I love how people on the right are always like very perseverant. And people on the left, they always sure they want change, that's why they're liberal, but it's like would you stop complaining about like everything? Like
Yeah.
you make there should be minimum wage that's low. Like there needs to be jobs that are shitty. That's the whole point. You can't just
Yeah.
start and like man, another thing that gets me is like guaranteed what's that where everybody gets money kind of for nothing where it's like a guaranteed income. There was
Oh,
that
yeah.
Asian guy
Yeah.
who ran for president who promoted it. What's that called?
I forget.
This is crazy. It's like an obvious thing. We should know it. Guaranteed.
Socialism?
No,
I don't know.
um, then why can't I come up with that? Hold on, I'm gonna Google
Bernie
it.
Sanders? Are you talking about a specific person or
No, no, I'm talking about like
or like the
the
term?
system of where people get a guaranteed income. What's the system called
Oh,
where people get a guaranteed income? Um, because we got to know this. Get GB, oh UBI, Universal Basic Income. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure
oh,
you've heard
okay,
of that.
yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't remember the term,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Not me either.
yeah, like that stuff bothers me because like it really is not something that could ever work. Like how, like maybe it could just
Yeah.
by the idea that like we're in a first world country, so we're already so far ahead of everybody else, we can just literally play around. But like if we're gonna treat the whole system as like we got to make sure that we are being efficient with money, UBI
Yeah.
is just never going to work. Like it's not possible. It de-incentivizes people who want to work hard, and it rewards
Yeah.
people who do nothing. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Um,
No,
so
no.
so so you just had the one interview on Surrounded, or like because I see sometimes that some people don't even get up to do an interview when they're on the show. Like they don't get their little, they don't. Oh yeah, they did they make you guys run to the chair? Wait, I'm bouncing all over the place, but I got one super interesting thing. Do you know what I find
Yeah.
interesting when they have right wing people as the multitude of people versus the one lefty? Whenever they try to get a chance to speak, the right wing people are so organized and they're like they don't run to the chair. But when you see the left wing ones, they're darting to the chair. They're arguing over who's going to get their spot in the spotlight. You know, I find that to be such an interesting thing that happens on Surrounded. Um, so, did you only got the one chance to
Yeah.
talk then? Sorry, that was my question.
No, so yeah, I spoke that one time. I think I had a good, they cut it up pretty good from the original back and forth I had with Xander, I think at least 30 seconds to a minute or so was cut out. And they do that with a lot of the interview questions that people come up and say. You might be talking to this person back and forth for 5 minutes, but only 2 minutes is presented. And so that was also surreal for me to realize, because in watching these shows, you pay attention so much to what they're saying, but then when you're actually in the behind the scenes, you realize not everything is happening exactly as you're seeing it on camera. Um, but yeah, I had that one opportunity. There are a couple people who come, they drive out to the set, and then they never get the chance to speak. They call on, well, I don't know if I should be saying this, but I don't know if they still do it like this, and they haven't always done it like this. But on the episode that I went on, they had said that they had recently been dealing with concerns of injury from people running in and
Yeah.
clashing with each other when they get to the chair. And so they said, on this episode specifically, we are going to call on you before you run to the chair. We're going to select who's going to go, and then you pretend to run to the chair and win.
Cool.
So that's what happened on my episode specifically. I think they may have changed it back, because I've seen again the crazy aggressive, almost hockey
Yeah.
like running to the chair, like smashing into people. So but yeah, some people just don't even get the chance to speak. In the episode I was in, I was really surprised. This guy Micah Kunkel, I don't know if you've seen him. He's got a great page too. He didn't even get the chance to speak. That guy is a genius. I know he would have
Dang.
just absolutely demolished
Yeah.
Xander on that episode.
Oh, too bad.
But he didn't get the opportunity. I know. So it really is just the luck of the draw. But luckily on that episode, I feel like everyone really, really did a good job of going
Yeah.
up there, presenting the facts, being composed,
Nice.
and
Well, that's
yeah.
good, and it's good that the one that you had in particular, like you said, you had the trans kids one, which is because that one is such a strong winner for the right, that it's like it's good that you
Mm-hmm.
got such a good topic like that. So my next
Oh,
big
totally.
sorry,
Oh, I said, oh, totally.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, video podcasting is tricky sometimes. Um, yeah, so I'm really curious about like what inspired you. So it's going to be like a 2 or 3 part question. Like, what got you into
Okay.
politics? And I know you're kind of very faith based, which is awesome. Um, what got you into it? What inspires you to continue it? And then like, how do you have the courage? Because like on the right now, you see Steven Crowder doing his stuff with Change My Mind, and the first topic was the left is violent. I'm not sure if you watch his stuff, but it really is
Yes, I
right now.
do.
There is a movement of a dangerous situation going on, and for people on the right especially. And so, how do you have the courage to do that? Because you're in Washington. I kind of do it a little bit, but like I'm off in the boonies. I'm safe up here, and like I've got a bow and arrow never further than 5 feet from me, and I
There you
can be
go.
drawn in 3 seconds, so I don't have a worry. But like I so that's my question: is what got you into politics, and then the other latter questions.
Yeah. I think I've always just been a really curious person. From a young age, I would ask my mom questions that I always wanted to know how the world worked. And maybe it was just the circumstances that I grew up in that made me have to grow up a little bit faster. And I was an only child. So I think when you're an only child, you're a little bit weird, and you grow up a little bit faster. You're interested in the adult stuff because you don't have kids around you to, you know, go and play Barbies with. But
Totally.
I've always been into it. And I think part of my story is I grew up with a single mom. And so it wasn't a picture perfect scenario. And I think I realized that life was unfair a little bit earlier on than some other people. And so that got me interested. Um, Honestly, what the turning point for me was I was in, I think, sixth grade when Trump had first gotten elected. And I remember the buzz around it. Um, Teachers and classmates of mine being so upset about him getting elected. And I grew up in a very liberal family. And so that was the rhetoric I had heard as well. But again, that curiosity kind of just was turning within me. And so I decided to do my own research as like a 12 or 13-year-old girl, looking up why people hated Trump so much. I heard so much about him being racist for wanting borders. And so I looked a lot into that. And very quickly, I realized those things that I had heard were extremely untrue, and they were driven um, by propaganda, really from one side, calling secure borders racism, calling really, really normal things that have existed for all of history. Um, racist and homophobic and fill in the blank. So that was really the turning point for me. And then just since then, I've followed on the path, and then in building my relationship with God, that's even solidified it. And now it's honestly a part of who I am. Um, but in trying to figure out what I want to do for a career as I'm graduating college, I'm the kind of person where I can't do something if I'm not passionate about it. And so my biggest passion is just is sharing my faith and sharing my beliefs. I love to talk. I'm a freaking yapper. So
Yeah,
I figured politics in some capacity would be a good
yeah,
idea.
we have
So
similar
that's my
branding.
goal.
Sorry, just to interject. Yeah, we have similar branding in that sense. I really actually don't talk that much outside of this, but like, yeah, your page is Angelina Talks and mine is Canadian Talk, which is very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like to talk a lot, but yeah, please continue. Um,
totally. So yeah, and so with graduating college, and then of course, with Charlie Kirk being murdered, it just, I think for so many young Americans, young and old, it lit a fire under us to realize this isn't just a back and forth conversation we're having on a debate YouTube channel. It's not that simple. It really is the difference between um,
Good and
not
evil.
to really character. Yeah, it's between good and evil. And I think that was just, it was in our faces. It was on our phone screens, seeing a man be murdered in front of hundreds of people. And so I think that that really locked it in for me, that this is a movement that I want to be a part of, that fight between good and evil. And I want those same people. I mean, I grew up thinking one thing. I was on the left for a while. It took a
Me
while for
too.
me to
Yeah.
really solidify, and I don't blame people for being on the left, because that's just what's fed to them. If you
Oh
grow
yeah.
up in a family that speaks that way, if you're consuming that media, if you're going to a school that teaches you that as well, all those things are true for me. You're
Yeah.
going to be on that side, and
Yeah.
I have compassion for those people. I want to share with them the truth. I want to be patient with them and
Hmm.
explain things so that they can come to the light.
Yeah, for sure, for
you
sure.
know
And at any given time too, like politics is a dynamic thing. Like it's not, one side isn't always right and the other side is always wrong. It just kind of depends
yeah.
what a country needs at a given time,
Yes.
and either side could be what's needed. Maybe we need change, so maybe there's the gist. So yeah, um, it is interesting though. The current climate right now. I'm with you on that. Like, because I'm being pulled over in a certain direction too. I tell you, like when I saw that Charlie Kirk thing, it was one of the most impactful things I've ever seen in my entire life. I haven't
Yeah.
seen anything like that since 9/11, and that's so much different than the specifics of what happened to Charlie. And like I remember when I first saw it, like what was it, September 10th or something, and it happened right at like 1 p.m. I watched it, and the quality kept getting better on the different clips, and I got sick. I had to go into a dark room and just kind of lay down for a second because I was so
Yeah.
overwhelmed by the whole thing. And then when I saw that, the internet and the left, and God, I've never been so angered by the phrase, like, well, you reap what you sow, or you kind of had it coming. Like those phrases make me so angry now when it comes to that particular thing, because there has just never been an assassination like Charlie's, in my opinion. So, and I haven't
Yeah.
had anybody give me a compelling argument otherwise. Just a regular moderate patriot. No, whatever you can call him, a nationalist if you want, but for that to happen, I understand it can happen at any time. Because it's so easy for that to happen, but it just shouldn't have happened. That's what gets me, and I think so many other people about it, is it just should have never happened. You know.
Right, right. And to continue with that, I think again on the topic of Christian persecution in America and in Canada and in Europe, we're not used to seeing Christian persecution on the level that it really exists in the rest of the world.
Where did this
We're
come
not.
from? Like it's all of a sudden the West got Like I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
it snuck
well,
up on us, didn't
we
it?
can have a conversation on that. Why is the West becoming not the West anymore?
Yeah,
But if you look at these other countries, they do not have the religious freedom. They cannot I mean, the freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, people take it for granted. They don't understand that what we have is so rare and so valuable. If you look to even what's happening in Nigeria right now, I mean, these Christians are being slaughtered in mass
Yep.
for their faith.
Yep.
Um, and nobody wants to come and save them. And I think it's funny that we focus so much on, you know, in the United States, like I said, we get so upset when we get canceled on the internet, but real persecution, that's what happened to Charlie Kirk, and I think that's what got us so hard, is when we see that real persecution. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before. And like you said, he was a citizen, he was a moderate. In no way were his views extreme. They were not extreme. I mean, some of the things he said, those were things that Obama was saying in his first administration, to have a strong border. Oh my gosh, they called
Yeah.
Obama the deporter in chief, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really goes to show what's at work. And
Yeah.
it is sickening.
For sure. For sure. Well, we don't have to get too deep down that kind of sad rabbit hole, but yeah, I'm sure we both feel the same way about it. And yeah, but to do with what you were saying, to do with the West and stuff, I just did a podcast a couple episodes ago with a PhD woman who was she was educated in Michigan, uh, University of Michigan, and she had a PhD in multiculturalism, Canadian multiculturalism. So, and me and her talked quite a bit about it, like, because in a sense, the West. This is just to answer your question about, like, our question about what's going on and when did they start persecuting kind of like whites or Christians or whatever you want to call it in the West
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately Canada and the United States has been a bit of a multiculturalism experiment, which seems to be shifting in one direction, that we're kind of losing the plot a little bit on it.
Yes.
And I don't know what's going to have to happen for us to eventually make the decision of, okay, it's pretty clear now we can say that homogenous societies are kind of working better than this multiculturalism stuff. We need to put in some rules. Like, here is the main religion. You can have your religion. You can be Islamic in the West, but hey, maybe you can't have a church though. We don't allow building the churches. We just allow,
Mm.
like, maybe some stuff like that needs to happen because, God, for me, it's funny. Like, I see Don Cherry getting canceled, or things like, I have my weird little world, but I see things like that, like awesome people like Don Cherry who represents Canada, and people are thinking he's bad. I'm like, something is seriously wrong here, you know? So, another thing I wanted to touch on was, you were talking a little bit about um, the different things that are lied about with Trump. You were talking about what got you into politics and that type of stuff. And um, that's one thing that I noticed too, is because I love debating with my friends, because it's amazing how much they lie about Trump online. It's like,
Yeah.
because I actually watch all the stuff because I have a lot of free time. I won't tell you too much about myself, but I have, like, a lot of free time. And you were talking about your weird professional path that you've had, but because you're just choosing right now. And I'll tell you, it's probably not going to be anything that you predict. Like, I thought I was going to just be, I'm a structural engineer by education. And I thought I was just going to do that. Turns out I was in engineering school, and I ended up playing professional poker, which is gambling. Sorry, I know that's a sin, so that's bad. But I made a bunch of
Fun. That's
money at it,
cool.
and I bought, like, houses, and so I have a lot of free time. So I actually watch the shit. So my point is like, just for example, there's many, but like the January 6th thing. I also did a podcast with a guy who went to jail for the insurrection stuff, and so I've talked
Mm.
lots about it. And I watched the speeches, the 2 hour, 2.5 hour speech before the thing happened. They just blatantly lied and said, oh, he was, like, inciting this stuff. In no way. When If a guy goes, hey, let's walk down to the Capitol. This march to the Capitol was already planned, by the way. And then in his speech, he's like, let's peacefully march down there and see how things go. Like, he literally said nothing inciting violence whatsoever. Not to mention
Yeah.
the actual facts of the situation, where when the people were there, sure, they broke some windows and they went into the building. But for that many people to be there, and for only one person to get killed, like accidentally, or whatever happened with the gunfire, or whatever happened with that, that's remarkable, to be honest. If you look at, like, the left, or you go BLM riots or something like that, and you go, sometimes there's a few thousand people involved in ransacking a part of the city,
Yeah.
and you see, like, 70 injured and 5 dead. So it's like,
Yeah.
that insurrection, the whole insurrection lie really gets me. What are some of the ones that, like, the lies about Trump that got you the most frustrated?
Well, that's good. Well, to touch on the insurrection, we're seeing the evidence coming out right now that this insurrection, I mean, I always believed that part of this had to have been manufactured, but we're seeing evidence of really actors being there, like people who were there who did not fit into the movement, who were not who were masked and who were not interacting with the rest of the
Yep.
protesters, who actually this one man went up to, people were just standing in front of the Capitol. This man went up and tried to convince a protester to smash the window in. When the
Yep.
protester refused to smash the window in, he did it himself and was encouraging people to go inside. There's fishy things going on. There were probably a few rowdy people there who, were doing things wrong. And I don't support that.
Yeah.
But I think there was more at
Yeah.
play
Well, that's what
than
Roger
meets the
said
eye.
too. The insurrectionist guy that I interviewed who got pardoned, his name is Roger, and that's what he said too. Is he saw there was just actors there. There was people that were trying to incite people to do something bad, and people weren't falling for the debate. For
Yeah,
debate, and so yeah, that was an interesting one. What?
totally.
Yeah. What else? Is there anything?
So with
Is there
Trump,
anything you want to talk about? Like, I'm curious because I've kind of I'm whipping through my list here. I've got plenty more, but I'm curious if there's anything in particular that you'd like to promote, or what's the things you've been thinking about lately?
mhm. Well, what I've really been thinking about lately, and you kind of touched on it, was this how the U.S., Europe is really being replaced in mass by immigration, both legal and illegal. And I think this is such an interesting concept because growing up in the United States, a lot of what I heard was that this is a melting pot. What makes our country so strong is the diversity. Um, and we can have conversations about that. But I mean, and my background is I'm from a family like four generations back is when one ancestor came from Spain and the other came from Mexico. And so my family like fully assimilated. And I think for many Americans who aren't just white, they did assimilate. But what we're really seeing now is this lack of assimilation. People come to the United States, people go to Europe, and they have no intention of learning the language. They have no intention of celebrating the same holidays. They want to move into their own. I mean, here in the US, you see like people from other countries will come here and they will only live with people who also came from that country. There is no assimilation happening. And when we think about it, the United States is a Christian nation. Yes, we allowed for religious freedoms, but we are a majority Christian nation. Our constitution, the writings that brought this country together are based under God. And so when we see people who are not following that and who are not respecting that, it will lead to the demise of our country.
For sure. You know what's
Um,
interesting about that? Just
and
a little aside, but remember where your trajectory there.
yeah,
It's like I saw this thing about this group that was creating like a white uh, a little city or
in the
neighborhood.
Ozarks.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny. Immediately, everybody's like, "You're a white supremacist." Yet there's like tons of little places where there's a bunch of Asian people or a bunch of whatever where they create
Yeah,
like what you were saying about really not assimilating, and they create their communities, and we don't go like calling them whatever you'd call them brown
yeah,
supremacists or Islamic supremacists or whatever you'd call it. But yet we get to, even
yeah,
though we're in a white country, if we want to make a white area, not allowed, not allowed. Like it's
yeah.
wild. It's wild.
It is weird, and it's this oppression culture where everybody except for whites is oppressed, and really it's not true. And it's being white is not respected as a culture. They don't think that whiteness is a culture.
Hmm.
Um, which is crazy. And the double
Yeah.
standard is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, these people complain and complain and complain and complain about white culture, but they don't realize that the only reason they get to be in the United States or to be in Canada or to be in Europe is because white people made it possible for them.
Yeah.
All of these beautiful buildings we see. I mean, we gotta build up our white folks a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, there's incredible things that they did. And so I think, if we're going to celebrate our Latinx, I hate that term, but our Latinx community, or have a Black History Month, or gosh, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Like, why can't white people be proud to be white? That's the thing. Why can white people not be proud
Yeah.
to be white?
I have no idea. I've got
Um,
no answer to that. I've got no answer.
yeah, well, you've been for years and years and years. You guys have been shamed into feeling that, into thinking that there's something wrong with you for being white, and I totally reject that. Um, Yeah, and I think there's a huge problem. And in talking to Sarah, that was one of her biggest issues with Canada. Is she
Hmm.
said if the United States keeps going down the path they're going down right now, it's going to look like Canada in 10 years. I mean, I think she said one of the stats that Canada um, brought in 1 million people from other countries last year.
Yep.
And the United States did as well. The only issue is the United States is a lot larger than Canada.
10
And
times the
so you
size. So
see,
we literally have 10 times the immigration.
and at what point is a country not a country anymore if it's being replaced by everybody else? Have you seen the videos of Paris, France?
Yep.
And there's like so many African people just crowded around the city.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second, this isn't the France I saw.
Yeah,
And
no
it's
doubt.
not just African. They are not assimilated to the
Yeah.
culture whatsoever.
Or the videos I'm sure
They're
you've
not
seen.
respecting it.
Yeah, or I'm sure you've seen the videos in the UK of like large groups of Islamic people like doing prayer and stuff in the streets. And I talked to an Islamic friend of mine and I was like, what's up with that? Because I know a little bit about, I studied religion for a while. That was how I originally got into debates and stuff, was starting with religious debates was my most interest. And I'm like, I thought that you're not supposed to pray in public, or you're not supposed to glorify your praying. Why are they doing it out in the streets? Isn't, and all the rules that they have for where they pray, they're breaking all of them by doing it
Hmm.
in the streets. And I'm like, why are they doing that? It seems like they're, just kind of trying to like make a splash, or kind of trying to counter assimilate, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting with where our countries are going to go
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
going forward,
Yeah.
because I think there's something really scary about it.
Yeah.
Because I think what made these nations so great is that there was shared values between these people who are coming to the United States, who are in it and throughout Europe, is that they shared these same morals, the same values, and most of the time the same religion.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I don't know if our countries were ever meant to have diversity in this capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so
we'll
it's a
see.
scary thing.
Hey, we'll see. I know, but yeah, we're gonna have to figure out where that tipping point is. That's for sure. Or maybe all of a sudden a hail mary will happen and it'll all start working. Who knows? But yeah, I have a couple more questions for you. To do with religion, and
Yeah.
then I'll let you go, let you get on with your day here. But yeah, so far, thank you so much for doing the show. Like, you are so freaking smart, and I've just loved this episode. This has been great. So yeah, I just have a few more questions for you to do with religion, and then yeah, we'll call it an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
So tell me a little bit about your faith and stuff, because I'm not really a religious person. I started out early in my life with a lot of interest in it. But then I was like, hey, my parents are gay. Religion says gay is bad. Religion must be bad. And so I started studying it. I really started with my first big person I liked was Bill Maher. And I
Mhm.
watched all his stuff, and I watched all the various theological debaters like Sam Harris and Dawkins and a lot of those guys, Lawrence Krauss and that kind of thing. And it all eventually came to a head for me where you could call me a bit kind of stalled. I'm a little bit of a stalled Christian, or agnostic, right? Agnostic is when you're not really sure yet, but
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm super interested in religion. I'm interested in your take on it and where you're at with it and what your journey was to get you to where you are, and how important it is to your life and stuff like that. If you could please pick a question out of that fishbowl there that I just put.
Totally. Well, I'll kind of give you the picture of it all for me.
Okay.
So I grew up in a quote unquote Catholic family, but like many Catholics, it was really just in name. I was baptized as a baby, and when I was young, Catholics go through this thing called catechism, where it's 2 years of formal teaching, where you learn about the Catholic faith and the prayers. And so then I got my first, it's called your first Holy Communion at around, I don't know, 8 or 9, where you're making that first dedication to God. But after that point, my family really had not been going to mass. We were not a family that read scripture or anything. It was really just, we're Catholic in name and we're not really practicing the faith. My family members really were not living for God and what scripture says the way you should live. And so I kind of just, my image of what faith was really just that you can go and pray to God when you need him, and when you don't have to, and you can kind of live the way you want to. um, but like many Christians, what kind of brought me to him was a bad breakup in high school
Oh
that
God.
kind of just left me. Oh, yeah, yeah, it happened. And, when you don't have someone there telling you your value, all of a sudden it's just you and yourself,
Yep.
and you have to decide, what you're going to live for. And so I, I really just
Yeah.
it was a crazy thing. I really had no reason to do this, but just one day in my sulking was driving around, and I just felt this intense pressure, and like in the back of my head telling me, go to the store and buy a Bible. Which is so weird because nobody in my family reads the Bible. I hadn't been consuming Christian content, but something told me go to the store and buy a Bible. And so here I go to the store and I buy a Bible, and I have no
Yeah.
idea what I'm doing, what kind of Bible. There's a million different kinds of Bibles to buy,
Yeah.
apparently. And so
Yeah.
I did that, and still not knowing what I'm doing for the next couple of weeks, I just start getting into reading it. I mean, I remember Googling what what thing in the Bible to read first. And so it was John. And I remember reading in John that Jesus said, like, even the prostitutes and the Pharisees, like the prostitutes and the tax collectors, um, they have a better chance of getting into heaven than you Pharisees, who you proclaim God, but you're not living for him. And that's kind of where it started clicking for me, that being a Christian wasn't just an image, a facade that you had. It's a lifestyle that you live. It's actually placing your faith in him. And so I just quietly started doing the thing. I mean, I was so scared. I did not want anybody in my family or in my friend groups to know that I was reading the Bible, or that I had just started going to church. I had just started going to church all by myself. And I remember I would get into the service 10 minutes late, and I would leave 10 minutes early so I didn't have to talk to people.
Wow.
And that was just, I was really in this bubble for the next year of keeping my faith all to myself. I protected it with everything I had in me, because I did not want anybody to be able to disturb it and to say, why are you going to church? I know the way you live. Why are you reading the Bible? I know your past.
Yeah.
And so it was something that I really wanted to protect and keep sacred for myself until I was ready and felt strong enough to share it with other people. And so I did that
Yeah.
for such a long
Seems
time.
like you dealt with
And
a little bit of that embarrassment stuff just like me, you know? And it's funny that you had this big
yes,
shift in your life because of a relationship. I had a similar thing. I had a long-term relationship where, because I was always taught, like what you said earlier, where it's like differences, even when it comes to a relationship, they're like, I always thought opposites attract. And that's kind of what my first long-term relationship was. It was like a person who was very different than me. And turns out not working made a huge shift in my life too, just like yours, which is very, it's crazy how impactful male female relationships are on like what a person is like.
yeah, well, we can make them our God. It's so easy to put another person on a pedestal and to say, you are my source of joy, happiness, comfort. You are everything to me. And they very quickly become your source of self worth. And so if you take that away and there's not something, a foundation to keep you up,
Mm-hmm.
it
You're
ruins
floating.
people's lives.
Yeah, you're
A
gone.
bad breakup can ruin your life. And so I've heard that story so many times from other Christians, is after a bad breakup, when they're left with nothing anymore, the only thing left to turn to is God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm so grateful, kudos to that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember after that year and a half of just kind of diving deep into my faith, I'd been going to church and it was becoming really real for me. I decided to get baptized my senior year of high school. And that's where it was like, I was like, surprise to all my friends. And, they had no idea, but they were so awesome about it. And so I invited my closest friends to my baptism. And long story short, I was not going to tell my family about me getting baptized because I just knew I already knew what I was going to hear. What are you doing? Many Catholics have very strong opinions of Protestants. They do not like that. I remember hearing stories from my grandma growing up saying like they're taking the easy way out.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wasn't going to tell them, but just I felt something tugging at my heartstrings, telling me to tell my mom that I was getting baptized, because I felt that it was an opportunity for me to really share my faith with her and to show her how real it was to me. That backfired on me. They were very upset. And so my baptism really, it was a really hard time for me because there wasn't any familial support. And my friends, while kind, they didn't understand what was going on. That decision was really coming from a place of just God and me. I really had to walk in faith with him and tell him, everyone around me is upset with me. Everyone around me doesn't understand what's happening right now. But I trust you. I have faith that you're going to carry me through this. And it was a really powerful thing. And it makes me emotional just thinking about it because when I had nothing, he was still there. And that's the comfort that I find because, everything in life is not guaranteed to us. I mean, one day we're all going to be old and wrinkled and, our partners might be dead and we might be all alone, but the true and lasting comfort for me
Yeah.
is that I will always have
Yeah.
something right there by my side, and
There you
that's
go.
God. And so,
Yeah.
for better or for worse, I'm sticking around with this dude for the rest of my life, and
Good
he has
stuff.
to deal with me. So
Nice, nice.
that's a little bit about my faith story.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's very easy to let your ego get ahead of you and like make you think that, oh, everything will always be fine. Like I never need a safety net. But yeah, I think we all need a safety net. Some people find it through life does it to them. Some people do mushrooms and it's like that, that scares them enough that they, whatever it takes.
Oh yeah,
But it's all good as long as we all kind of end up in that place, because ego's a
yeah.
bad thing. Uh, and yeah, I mean, well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. With that, I'll say, yeah, that was Angelina, guys. Go find her on Instagram at Angelina Talks. Go watch her podcasts at the Lincoln Institute. You can find that on YouTube. Project307.ca. There's that. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else you want to say?
I had a great time. Thank you for asking such great questions. And I'm excited to keep seeing what you're doing. You're doing a
Cool.
great job.
All right.
Seriously.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's Canadian Talk.